Is an introduction really necessary for someone we all know so well?
How we doing, everybody? This is another segment of Dig This Ish, which is information shared humbly with your good man, Ron Digg. Today, I wanted to talk about a sensitive topic, man. Like, I wanted to get into this whole racism thing. Me personally, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I feel like it's died down a whole lot, bro. You know what I mean? I feel like things have changed. You know what I mean? I don't feel like it's as many racist, like diehard racist people as is made to seem. You know what I mean? As we're made to believe. You know what I mean? I believe they just get the spotlight. I just believe that they hone in on it to make it seem that way. And then also you gotta think about feelings of fear that may be there for people who may be amongst those races, who have to live amongst those races. So sometimes you go along to get along. You know what I mean? We see that in the black community all the time. You know what I mean? But I ain't want to just use my judgment. So I jumped on here and asked a few questions. Check this out. Hey, Gemini, would you consider America racist?
Determining whether America is a racist country is complex, as the term racist can be interpreted in various ways. You can look at this from a few different angles. Systemic and institutional racism. Many scholars and sociologists argue that America has a long history of systemic racism, which refers to how institutions and policies create and perpetuate racial inequality. This isn't about individual prejudice, but about the way systems are structured. For example, housing segregation. Historically, policies like redlining made it difficult for Black families to buy homes in certain neighborhoods, leading to a lasting wealth gap. Criminal justice system. Studies have shown racial disparities in arrests, sentencing, and incarceration rates, even when controlling for similar offenses. Education. Funding for schools is often tied to local property taxes, which can lead to lower income, minority-majority communities having less funding for their schools. Individual racism. On an individual level, it's clear that racism still exists. You can see this in instances of hate crimes, racial profiling, and overt acts of bigotry. However, a 2021 Gallup poll showed that about 85% of Americans believe racism against Black people is a problem in the United States, suggesting that most people don't see it as a universally accepted part of society. Historical context. It's impossible to discuss this topic without acknowledging America's history of slavery, Jim Crow laws, and the forced displacement of Native Americans. These historical events created a foundation of racial hierarchy that continues to influence society today. While laws have changed, the effects of these historical injustices are still felt. So is America racist? If you define it as a country where every individual is an overt racist, the answer is likely no. If you define it as a country where racial inequality is embedded in its systems and institutions, and where racism continues to manifest on both an individual and systemic level, then many people would argue that yes, America is a racist country.
Well, there it is. I mean, what it sounds like to me is that it's the system, that the system needs to change. Which, I mean, it was established by a bunch of racists anyway. So, I mean, what can you expect? But what do y'all think, man? Leave it in the comments, man.